Hey, what is going on, everybody? Boilon here, and today's video is a little bit different. We're here to talk about this game. We're here to talk about this game and how it might relate to Marvel Strike Force and Scopely and why things are bad in our game, maybe. And for those of you who don't know what this is, what's going on here on the screen, this is a new game called Stumble Guys that looks a lot like something you may have seen called Fall Guys, which was quite big last year. I don't even remember, but I remember playing it on my PlayStation. And Fall Guy, it honestly looks like a blatant ripoff of Fall Guys. I'm not sure how this didn't get like copywritten, whatever. It's literally, it almost looks exactly the same. So Scopely basically bought this game from their company, from their developer studio, and now it's part of the Scopely portfolio. And so I want to reference this article really quickly that I found on pocketgamer.biz, which is, I believe, a UK-based mobile gaming blog website. This blog by Lewis Reese. Scopely has announced that it has acquired, and I don't know how I don't know how I stumbled upon this. I think that when I was on my phone, I noticed this. I saw it in my app store maybe, and I noticed that Scopely's name was attached to it, and I was like, what the hell is this? So I went to go check Scopely's website, and that's where I found Stumble Guys. Scopely has announced that it has acquired, and this was on September the 8th, Scopely has announced it has acquired Battle Royale title Stumble Guys from Finnish developer Kitka Games. This acquisition complements Scopely's growing portfolio of socially driven titles in a range of genres while opening the company up to new demographics and genres. We are thrilled that so many players have embraced the fun of Stumble Guys, building highly engaged communities and that connect with the game around the world. Kitka Games CEO, blah, 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 blah. And so this talks about their growing portfolio of Scopely. We know that, right? Scopely has been going on around acquiring games, including ours, Marvel Strike Force in 2020 from Fox Next. Since its release, Stumble Guys has attracted more than 20 million daily players worldwide and generated more than 1 billion hours of playtime. The game, as with other notable titles such as Fall Guys, sees groups of players competing in a variety of obstacles and crown the winner of the round. Some of you guys probably have even played this, or Fall Guys, of course. Stumble Guys is one of the most social, multiplayer, and deeply engaging experiences that we have seen in a long time, with more than 1 billion hours of playtime to date, said Scopely Chief Revenue Officer and Board Member Tim O'Brien. Kitka Games created a vibrant, fun game that connects people of all ages, serving as a compelling digital playground, delights players each day, community, blah, blah, blah. This acquisition further cements Scopely's place as one of the largest independent game companies worldwide, including top-grossing titles with Marvel, Star Trek, WWE, and The Walking Dead. Last month, we acknowledged that they were top 20, apparently. I opened this up, and apparently top 20 of 50 in terms of best mobile game makers of 2022. And so I want to go back to this article. I don't know if it's the same. I think there's some new stuff in here. And this was on Scopely's website. This was their blog. Actually, just repeats a lot of what it already says. And so I guess what I'm trying to figure out here is how much of this acquisition is actually impacting Scopely's other titles. And I'll be honest, I don't have a deep-rooted understanding of the games industry. And so I would love for other people to chime in and help me understand whether or not this would impact anything that we're going through. Because I saw this and I'm like, well, maybe this has something to do or anything to do with it. I don't know. And so I want to go to Sensor Tower. This is a website. If you go to app.sensortower.com, this allows you to check basically how well apps are doing, at least as far as downloads and also money spending on the app stores. Now, you know that Marvel Strike Force has the web store, so some money earned is not going to be mentioned there. But I do want to I want to talk about Stumble Guys a little bit. So we'll do Stumble Guys. Stumble Guys Android. 18 million downloads for August 2022 with $5 million of revenue for last month. That's a lot. That's just for Google Play, by the way. Stumble Guys Apple. 8 million downloads, so less. That's 26 million with 6 million. So more people are spending, a lot more people are spending on iOS than they are on Android. Combined, that's about $11 million for last month with over whatever I said, 26 million downloads. A lot. Now, how does that compare to Marvel Strike Force? Now, again, keep in mind that Marvel Strike Force has that web store that some people use. Marvel Strike Force, we'll start with Android. And 300,000 downloads. That's it. And 5 million revenue last month. I haven't checked for what it was in July, so I don't know how that's been comparing to recent months. I should really start keeping track of this just for sheer curiosity value. Marvel Strike Force for iOS, 200,000 downloads, so a lot less people there's a lot more people on Android devices, and 10 million, holy shit. People on iOS are spending a lot of money than people on Android. I don't know, maybe people with Apple devices just have more money. I'm really not sure what the comparison value is there. So 15 million for Marvel Strike Force, and what did I say? Something like, it was still quite a bit. 11 million for Stumble Guys. And honestly, that's pretty surprising for me, for the game that it is. What the hell are you selling? I don't know. I haven't played it. I haven't actually played Stumble Guys. So I don't know what they're monetizing. Probably the skins and the character costumes and things like that. But, you know, how much of Scopely's resources and how much of this is relevant to, I guess, the lack of resources that Marvel Strike Force may be getting because they're feeling perhaps that Stumble Guys might have some better return, or they might have, let's say, a lower cost to develop the game and to keep it going and to do more stuff than it does with Marvel Strike Force, and therefore their net profits is probably a lot higher on Stumble Guys because they don't have to pay an IP licensing fee like they do for Marvel. So Marvel takes a cut. I don't know what that is, but some people have suggested as high as 30%. And for Stumble Guys, that's not the case, right? And so are they going to be putting more resources into Stumble Guys, this Fall Guys ripoff, instead of Marvel Strike Force? And that's what I'm concerned about, because we know that this patch has been absolutely horrific. It's been one of the worst patches, in my opinion, that I played in some time, and that's saying something. It kind of reminds me, this post was up on Reddit, and I think it's pretty good. As someone who works in the game industry, how is it you're going to fix this? No finger pointing, no fire this person. How do you fix this from not occurring again? And I don't normally reference Reddit posts, but this one kind of struck me a little bit when I was reading. I will preface this with saying I work within the game industry for a very large company, and there is no point to saying employee caused the problem because it got past them and we have dealt with them. No, this got past many people. This got past production, shareholders, developers, art department, UI, tools, QA, if we ever have any, and DevOps. Now, of course, this is all in relation to the problems that we've been having in Marvel Strike Force since the patch. Some of the ongoing issues from prior to the patch that said they were going to get fixed, like the Doom Raid bugs for Adam Warlock and Psylocke, and whatever other problems that are ongoing right now are still unfixed. There's a lot of issues in the game that either have been created as of the patch or are still ongoing that were never fixed. And this is a little bit of a problem as well. If I'm missing any department, I apologize, but I want to give a breadth of how many departments this patch got past and how unacceptable it is for a multi-million monthly company to allow this to occur. Because what I'm saying is, someone who has played roughly since a week out from launch, I'm at a point where I feel that the environment lacks checks and standards, which even on a basic level should be there. And I want to say that I've played indie games with way better checks and balances than Scopely or Boundless and Marvel Strike Force does. It's just flat out embarrassing, frankly. I don't have to work in the games industry to understand that it's just flat out embarrassing compared to what I've seen with less people involved. I will also say that I have no idea what system you're using for check-ins or testing. If you're doing that at all, I would assume that you are using Perforce, which is industry standard, and using Helix for your bug system, or Jira for tracking as well. I don't know, I'm just spitballing here. Most people will point to 2 or 3 departments to blame: QA, developers, and DevOps. I have no doubt that something slipped through the cracks there, so if it did, what is missing? I would assume that you do not have automation tests from QA or DevOps, because if you did, a very basic test would mark a fail for just the find button issue alone. And I want to say that the find button has really bothered me a lot more on my baby account. Less so on my main account because I know where I'm going, but for my baby account, when I'm looking for like blue gear and random crap, I can't find it. This one is going to get interesting because this is how I assume you do not, in fact, have even basic unit test, but I could be wrong. I assume your QA is either the Chinese swarm bug style, which by the way is not the greatest method, but it's among the cheaper, effective ways, which is when you get an absolute ton of bugs and you guys just kind of check through the list and remove dupes. Or it's in-house, which again brings back to the point of how did this get through? Since I've now checked this myself on multiple platforms, it appears BlueStacks is the only platform that consistently shows all necessary elements of the game, including find button content. This leads me to believe that if you do have a QA and automation, they're using computers and not a physical device, but I could be totally wrong here. Anyways, let's get back to the P4V issue where you have our change list check-ins. I'm guessing you have some kind of data build site or Jenkins or even more. I don't understand a lot of this, but maybe some of you do. Okay, so Billy Bob made a check-in back in August or whatever time frame you guys prep for a patch. Billy Bob runs the build scripts, and Billy Bob's mass email sends out to all pertinent parties who needs to know. Rufus sees the emails and goes, cool, now it's time to do my QA test. So he grabs his physical iOS device, physical Android, and kicks up BlueStacks. He pulls the latest build for each from the virtual machine that holds the latest data and installs the APK on his physical Android and BlueStacks, or his Java emulator. And he throws the app onto the iOS physical device through Xcode, whatever he got. Maybe he's froggy and he uses something else. I don't know. Rufus tests the latest change list and goes through his checklist. Let's call this checklist a smoke test for funsies. What's your smoke test have? I'll give a rundown of what I would do for my smoke test. For example, turns on, logs in through Facebook, etc. Stores work, currency works, campaign nodes work, fighting and combat works, options work, advanced settings work, visual graphics are present as expected. This is really long. I'm not going to go through this whole thing, but I mean, the fact that he goes to this great extent, I will finish reading it, but I mean, it might get a bit long for the video. Just kind of points out like what's going on or not going on over there at Boundless and why. I really enjoy this game. I enjoy the product. What I do not enjoy is watching what I consider even basic level checks and balances fail on such a large scale is absolutely unacceptable at this point where the product has been released for 4 years. I have seen fans and posters who provide significantly better bug reports presented with more professionalism than the community managers themselves. Now, this video for once has nothing to do with community managers for me personally. It comes down to just basic necessity for the game. Basic things that should happen are not happening. Basic checks that should happen are not happening. There's a lot of things not happening. And why is that? Can we get a glimpse of what is going on over there? If they would even explain even a fraction of that to us, maybe that would help us understand. Because I think that's where we're at, is like, what's the problem? What this boils down to is that how do you plan on fixing this from not occurring again in the future? What steps are you going to take as a development company to address the concerns of customer base? Of course, there will be some in-game mail compensation. This is absolutely not about that at all. This is about my previous statements. Again, the answer is not fire this person or anything like that. This is a much larger issue. It's clearly snowballing and has been for some time. And I want to thank the author of this post, Breaker Psycho, for posting this. So far, it has some awards. That's great. And this really just tells us, this really just, it boils down, I hate using that word, because I'm Boilon, but, it really comes down to something really important. Is this what we should be expecting from Marvel Strike Force forever? What's going on that's causing this breakdown time and time again, but more specifically, really bad since the start of patch 6.4? I can't stress that enough. It has been absolutely atrocious. I don't know, guys. Let me know in the comments down below what you think. Do you think anything about this Fall Guys ripoff has anything to do with what things are going to be like here at Scopely with Marvel Strike Force at all? Is there any crossover effects? I don't know, but I did find this out, and I thought it was kind of interesting, and I wanted to share it with you all. So let me know in the comments down below, and of course, until next time, stay safe and healthy, and I'll see you all later. Boilon signing out.